breaking and entering, drunk and disorderly, law and order. A former prosecutor and a defence barrister, not your usual pairing. And the result? Conversations about crime and punishment that are guaranteed to get you thinking.
Welcome to Justice Matters, a weekly podcast with Lizzie Green and Jay Merchant. Our episodes are every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Justice Matters Pod for clips. Enjoy the episode. This episode deals with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Discretion is advised. Good morning, Liz.
Good morning, Jay.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hey, before we get into the episode, I just want to say I was at a function last night for the Canadian Law Students Association at a tavern, and there was two things that happened. The first, I got ID'd, and everybody saw it, so I was pretty happy
hilarious.
about that.
Yes, you're so young.
I know, I've got like a 95-year-old hairline. But the second thing that happened was I was approached by a pile of students on the Hockey Canada episode.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Some were for, some were against. And it was great just to sit back and watch them go at it like amongst themselves and not get involved. But one thing that did transpire was a challenge.
Oh, yes.
Yes. There was a challenge.
For us.
Aiden Anthony and Amitaj Aurora.
Sorry?
They challenged us to a 4-person debate.
Oh.
On the case. There was some views. So one student.
But we can't be on the same side.
No, we're not on the same side on this one.
Okay, good.
So they said, well, we should do a debate or something about it. They said, Aiden's on your side and Amitaj is on my side. So it's something that we might have to discuss moving forward.
But, and interesting you say that because I was talking to a couple of students yesterday and again, there was no, agreement as to what had really happened.
Yeah.
But one of them said, but people are talking about it. And
Yeah.
if that makes someone think before that kind of scenario unfolds, then that's a good thing. And I think that's true.
Yeah. And I've been telling all students on either side, look, this is one of those decisions that you actually have to read just to understand what transpired. Because in our episode, obviously I couldn't get through everything, but certainly it's a really good judgment, whether you're for or against it. So
yes. All right. Well, let's have that debate.
We'll have that debate. So there you go, Aiden and Amitaj. We'll sort something out. Hey, I did get an email, a DM on Twitter regarding Charlie Kirk's assassination. I had an email from another person saying, look, I don't know much about it. We don't follow American politics that much. So I thought today we'd spend a little bit of time. And so I plan on going through who Charlie Kirk is, what organization he worked for, and then just what unfolded on that day, and then where we're at today.
Okay.
Just a general discussion because there's some ancillary points that we can talk about: free speech, guns, all that jazz.
Yes. All right.
Separation of powers.
And
fairness of hearings. So fundamental, whether you're in the United States, Canada, or Australia, is this right to a fair hearing.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So Charlie Kirk was born in 1989. So he's about 31 years old. So he's young.
So young.
Yeah, he's young. But he was very prominent in the United States insofar as being the CEO of an organization called Turning Point USA.
That's very young to be a CEO as well.
Well, and if you just look at the magnitude of that organization, it was youth orientated and it was conservative, right wing orientated. Right. Okay. But there was a huge following, and we'll get into that a little bit. But he was married to Erica Kirk, and they have 2 young children. And so one is about 3 and one is about 1.
Oh.
And they consciously made the decision not to give the names of the kids out in public. They wanted some semblance of privacy.
I think that's a really tough thing to do when you are a public figure, like that balance of sharing your life with the public but protecting your kids. I think a lot of celebrities struggle with that. Because
you're so much in the public sphere, but yet you want to guard those that are close to you.
Yes.
So it's something I don't have to worry about. I'm not in the public sphere.
Me either.
But Turning Point was an organization that had thousands and thousands of members. So they have visited 50 states, 3,500 different campuses, and up to 250,000 members. All right.
That's a lot.
It's incredible how big that organization is. And certainly there was ties to the same sort of ideology that Donald Trump has.
But so what was its purpose? Like, it's going to visit everywhere.
It's to raise awareness about conservative values and conservative ideologies.
So it is political.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's definitely political. And it was to mobilize youth.
Mm.
And certainly it had a huge media and digital presence.
And I am not a political expert
Mm-hmm.
at all, but am I right in that I would have read somewhere that Trump's success was credited quite a lot to the young male population? And is this the sort of driver that led to that support?
Certainly contributed in a very big way. If you think about it, 250,000 members reaching out to their friends and families and such, and there was a lot of campuses that held these events, and we're talking thousands of students at these events.
Yes.
And I think what was unique about the way that he approached it, now, please do not take this as me being pro or anti. I'm Switzerland in this, but is his approach on engaging with students. So he would allow students to raise any sort of comment, objection, and directly respond to that. And there's something pretty special about that style, because a lot of public figures are guarded by who gets to ask questions, the type of question, and the atmosphere.
Yeah.
He simply had rallies and said, prove it. Get up to the microphone, speak your truth, tell me what you're saying, tell me your story. And he would ask people, all right, before I get into something, tell me your story. So he's trying to understand. All right.
And that connection, I think, especially with young people, is just so powerful, to let them have their voice and their opinions and validate what they want to say.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to when I was younger. I was very active politically younger. And
Were you?
I was, yeah. No, I was supposed to run at one point.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I went to Montreal, Quebec to study French so that I could run for Parliament in Canada.
You could have been Prime Minister Jay.
Oh, I don't know about that. But certainly this feeling that I had when I was younger of, okay, I'm at this big time event and people are listening.
Yes.
People are engaging with me. It's not just an old person's club anymore. And
Yeah.
so when I watched these rallies now that I prepared for this, I saw so many young people engaging. And yes, they didn't agree. Some of them emphatically hated Charlie Kirk. But what I did admire was the fact that he gave them a microphone.
Yeah.
And most politicians that I know from when I was in politics avoided that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times young people get talked at rather than talked to.
Well, their opinions don't matter. Why? Because they can't vote. Right?
Ah, yes.
And so why do we need to spend time courting them if they can't vote?
Which is so narrow-minded because they are the future.
That's right. And so that's why this was pretty remarkable in the sense that he's mobilizing young people, and it is affecting the electoral system. There is an influence there, and it was part of the reason why we have Donald Trump in the White House.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. But that, goes to say that it was a conservative movement, and with that comes some controversy. And so there was some controversy in terms of some of what he believed in. And this is a belief. This is a conservative religious ideology. And ladies and gentlemen, it's okay to be a conservative religious and have that ideology. We have this freedom, right? But it was very polarizing. So you had LGBTQI plus, apologies. So issues that he did not support. And he was very clear that this is his belief, his religion, that homosexuality is a sin.
Well, you say it's very clear it was his opinion, but and this is where I struggle a little bit, because when someone has such reach and is so not revered maybe, although I think by some people he
Mhm.
was. And then again, we are looking at his audience, which is young people.
Young people.
It can be very difficult to have an effective counteracting position to that. So you might have someone in his audience who says, well, I don't agree with that, and give the reasons, but then presumably he stands back up and says, well, but this is why I'm right. And that's a really huge platform to impose your beliefs onto some other people, you know.
Yeah, and I think I'll just say I'm not sure, and I could be corrected. I'm sure the viewers are going to have a lot to say about this. I'm not sure that he stood up and said that's why my views are right. I think what he did was stood up and said these are my views.
Okay, he may not have used those words.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to say I'm right because, but you give your arguments or your reasons, and that's the justification. And I think there are a lot of his beliefs that a lot of people would have hoped we might have moved on from.
Oh, certainly. And the conservatives on that side still support those positions. The liberals and the center left do not, right? They've moved on from that. They've said, we've dealt with abortion. Why are we still talking about abortion? They've dealt with the fact that two people of the same sex can get married, or unions. Why are we still talking about that? And I take that point.
Yeah.
I certainly do. But there was other views in terms of guns. I mean, he was pro-gun, and a lot of the conservatives are pro-gun. I thought about this morning. I think I told you I have a house in Louisiana, and down there, everybody has a gun. And so I'm going to name my Auntie Callie, who's 70, a very young 70, obviously.
Yes, sprightly.
Yes, but she has, she's going to hate me for this, but she's got a purse. She's 70, and she has a purse that it's fitted for a revolver handgun.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And if you think about here in Australia or in Canada, you might be thinking, well, that's crazy. Like, what 70-year-old female needs a handgun? But it's an entirely different ball game in the States.
It is. I mean, honestly, I've never even held a real gun.
Oh, we got to go shooting sometime.
I don't want to.
It's a lot of fun.
I don't want to. My sister-in-law lives on a farm, and my kids have gone pig hunting.
Yeah.
And I just do. I don't know. Thank you.
Well, we have to go, because I think my mom came for the first time to Australia, and she shot a handgun for the first time here in Australia, and
Crazy.
She loved it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an entirely different atmosphere down there. And I want to get into talking about the right to bear arms and such in a bit later. But we have a polarizing individual who has viewpoints that a certain demographic do not like. And what transpired in the United States on the 10th of September was, I guess, the culmination of dissent in one of the most horrific forms, in the fact that he was assassinated on stage at an event in front of youth.
Yes.
And what really hit me hard is that I woke up that morning on the 11th here, and the first thing that I saw on Twitter was the full video.
Yes.
The full video, the audio, and from different vantage points. And we have youth on social media, the youth that were at that event, are traumatized. And I don't know how you come back from something like that, because that image, that sound of Charlie Kirk being assassinated was something that, as a police officer who has seen a lot of shit, has shook me up.
And I was thinking about it as well afterwards. And you know what I thought is that his little kids, who are so tiny now, but this is out there. This video of their father being murdered is out there. And I know that one day they'll see it. And that's not something any child should ever see of their parent. And, you know, the internet never goes away. You can't get rid of it. And I just feel like that's so wrong.
Yeah.
And I really feel for, I mean, everyone, but his family. Like, it's just so confronting.
It is.
and I didn't know him at all,
Yeah. And I think because we don't have this kind of stuff here in Australia, and we don't have this kind of stuff in Canada. And it's just incomprehensible that in 2025 somebody is being assassinated on live TV because of beliefs, thoughts, and expressions.
That's right.
And so that to me is something that I don't understand. I can't grasp it. And a lot of my American counterparts and friends, I mean, I don't want to say like it's just another day in the United States, but it's almost like our reactions from abroad are more raw than their reactions locally.
Do you think?
Well, I'm getting the sense that, the outrage that I'm seeing online is not so much about the fact that somebody's assassinated on live TV. It's more so because of his political ideology.
Right. It is. I mean, I guess you would get to a level of being desensitized to the gun violence because it's, I don't want to say daily, but it is just so frequent. There was a story on the news last night about a shooting.
Yeah.
So it is just a presence in American daily life.
It is. And that's probably why I'm struggling with it so much. And I don't know how we change it, or I don't know how it changes.
Well, we do know how it changes. We did a whole episode on gun violence, and we have the evidence that you change the laws about the guns, the death by gun decreases. Like, that's the only way. And people say, oh, guns don't kill people. People kill people. But it's a lot easier to shoot someone than to get up close and stab them, or, like this Charlie Kirk would be still alive if that guy didn't have access to a gun. He's not going to jump up on the stage, I wouldn't have thought.
Yeah, and that might be the case. I mean, the difficulty in the United States is their right to bear arms in the Constitution.
I know.
So the Constitution is the law of the land. And it's different because, and I was going to get to this later, but we'll get to it right now. The Constitution, this right to bear arms, this concept of militia and protection of oneself, the courts have said, well, no, it's individuals' right to bear arms. And what's different about this matter is the fact that the weapon that was used was a bolt-action rifle, as opposed to a semi-automatic or a fully automatic, Uzi or something like that. And so, whilst I agree with you on gun reform in the sense of access to guns, the Constitution should not allow people to get Uzis and semi and fully automatic. This is a bolt action rifle that farmers that is easier to accept as a weapon in my submission than one of those Uzis or automatics.
Right.
And I don't know if I made sense on that, but
that you're saying that maybe even if there was gun reform, that type of weapon which is utilized for
hunting,
other purposes may still have been accessible.
It would have been accessible,
yes.
I would submit.
But, I mean, I just want to come back briefly. Like you say, it's in their Constitution, and I know that. And the Constitution is such a long-standing document. But if there's one thing we know, it's that laws have to evolve and you have to move with the times. And so just because something's in the Constitution doesn't mean it couldn't or shouldn't be changed.
Oh, I'm 100% with you. The court down there is so static with its interpretation. They look at it as if that piece of paper was written today.
I know. And it
wasn't.
We have such archaic laws that we've had to get rid of. Like that's just what happens with the law. It's why we have to, push for law reform, and we see amendments and revocations and that sort of thing, because what was okay even 50 years ago is different now. And I'm thinking specifically like what we consider to be indecent.
Yes, certainly.
50 years ago, someone touches you on the bottom, that's going to be cause for reporting.
You're going
These
to the
days, 10. I tend to think if you got patted on the bottom, you'd be like, didn't even notice,
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's why I'm fortunate that we don't have, I guess, that that way of thinking, that interpretation in Australia and Canada. In Canada, the Supreme Court has said is our Constitution is a living tree. It has to evolve.
Yes.
And it does.
Yes.
And in the States, it seems like it's just what's on that piece of paper is the letter of the law, and
Must
nothing
be
changes.
preserved.
That's right. And so until such time as the Supreme Court composition changes, and there's a little bit of judicial activism down there, it's going to remain the same.
And we're getting a tiny bit off topic, but when Obama was president,
Yep.
was there any consideration of law reform in that area of guns? Do you know?
Look, I'm critical of both sides of the aisle down there. If they really wanted some sort of reform, they would have done it. And
Right.
and no party, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, has taken it on.
Okay.
No.
All
So,
right.
but yes, this was a bolt action rifle. So I'm not entirely sure it'd be caught up in that reform. And I mean, if you think about bolt action rifles over here, there's a lot of farmers that have them.
Yes.
And if you want to shoot somebody, there's access to that type of rifle.
Yes. I mean, we still don't have things perfect. We still have people who have access to weapons who perhaps shouldn't have. And the wine billet shooting
Yes.
is one example of that. But it's certainly so much scaled down.
I would say, having been in all three countries, that Australia has the best gun legislation in the entire world. And I say that because even as a police officer, I wasn't allowed to use my firearm at the range for training.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm just saying they're very strict over here.
Yes.
So some of the evidence that was found afterwards was the bolt action rifle. There was a towel found as well, and a screwdriver on the top of a roof about 200 yards away. Now, immediately, they didn't have any sort of suspect outside of a very old man who, at 85 years old, said, I did it, I did it, I did it. And
I did not hear that.
yeah. So this geriatric man said, I did it, I did it, I did it. And the reason why he said, I did it, I did it, I did it, was to allow the real shooter time to get away.
Because he knew him, or because he just supported his action?
The cause.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so when this melee happened, they had him in custody, and everyone was criticizing, why is there an 85-year-old man with handcuffs and on the ground and whatever? And it turns out the 85-year-old man was a diversionary tactic that he constructed to allow the real culprit to get away. Now, the 85-year-old man has subsequently been charged with obstruction of justice.
Wondering about that.
Obstruction.
Yes.
But when they conducted a search of his devices, they also found inappropriate material on his devices. So he's been charged with possession of child exploitation material, or sexual abuse stuff.
You reap what you sow.
That's right.
Yes.
So there was this investigation that went and was ongoing. And what they found was all of that weaponry, and they also found that there was some CCTV footage, and it was actually released. And then it was actually a fellow by the name of Tyler Robinson, who was 22 years old at the time, from Washington County. Now, he was arrested 33 hours after the assassination, but his own parents. So think about it from the perspective of the parents. His own parents said, well, that footage looks like Tyler. And they cooperated with police.
I can't imagine the heartache you would go through, firstly, to recognize that it's your child who's done something like that.
Yeah.
But then to grapple with the knowledge, if you're going to do the right thing, you have to turn him in.
That's right.
Like that's just something you wouldn't ever want to contemplate as a parent.
No.
Either of those.
But what do you do, right? Like, it would be such a difficult position, but it's the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to do. And you read other stories of parents who cover up crimes.
That's right.
For their children.
Yes.
And I have often thought, would I be that parent, or would I be the parent who turns them in? And I just think what that guy did was just so wrong.
Mm.
You can't let that go. Like as much as it would break your heart, you would have to tell the authorities.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's any option there. And so from there, what they did was conducted a digital analysis. So text messages of your phone. I mean, everything on your phone, whether it's Snapchat, whether it's Discord, whether it's SMS, Facebook Messenger, tweets, all of that is accessible. So if you think that the Snapchat's going to go away, it's not.
No.
All right. And so they found a number of different messages, and I'll go through a few of them. But he had an exchange on message with his roommate. And some of the messages were quite damning. Now, I should say that he's presumed innocent until proven guilty, and that I haven't seen court documents on these messages. So it could be the case that these messages are not 100% accurate, but they are widely reported. Some of them included messaging about a note under the keyboard of the computer at the house where him and the roommate lived, saying, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it. Okay.
Bit of premeditation there.
Yeah. And so we had messages going about that and talking about, well, you know, you weren't the one who did it, right? And Robinson saying, I'm sorry. And why? Why did you do it? And he said, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's a tragedy, isn't it?
It is. And some of the other evidence that was found were the shell casings, and some of them had engravings on them. And so somebody etched into the actual engravings something along the lines of, hey, fascist, catch.
What is, like, that was the same with the Mangione case.
Yes.
Like, what is with these people who are taking the time to inscribe a bullet before going to take someone's life? Like, I cannot fathom how people think they have the right to end someone's life.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think we talked about it previously, over speech and expression.
Yes.
And, you know, the thing in Canada that happens when you disagree with somebody is you throw a banana cream pie at them.
Still?
Yeah. I mean, we certainly don't shoot
I do
people.
love Canadians.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I always said that if I did run for office, it better be a pumpkin pie because I love pumpkin pie.
That's hilarious.
If you're going to throw something at me, it better be a
I'll
pumpkin.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so some of the other evidence that was located was a screwdriver. And so for anyone that's a hunter, you use screwdrivers for scopes to change the angle and degree of the scopes.
Right.
And so all of that was located on the rooftop. Now, according to police, that all linked back to Robinson and DNA from Robinson.
Right.
So
and can I ask, that distance, I'm not really sure because obviously I've never held a gun, but would it have been a difficult shot to make?
No.
Oh, no.
Not with a scope.
Okay.
And for somebody that is seasoned in shooting, that's not very far at all.
Right.
Yeah. So
it was a pretty sure thing.
It was a pretty sure thing. I mean, the only thing that would have made it unsure was Charlie's movements whilst he was grabbing the microphone and stuff like that and engaging with people.
Yes.
But certainly from 200 meters away, it is not a difficult shot.
Okay.
So it seems to be that there is a heap of evidence that has been uncovered that links to him, both communications. He was involved in a Discord group chat where allegedly he started joking about, you know, people were asking him, is this you? And he would say, no, it's my doppelganger. And
this is in the 33 hours.
Yes, this is in the 33 hours after. Okay.
He's brazen.
He was trying hard to go back and get the rifle because his grandfather had an affinity for that rifle. And so he was more concerned, according to the reports, with his grandfather getting the rifle back and his dad being pissed that the rifle was out of the home.
Well, he certainly stuffed up on all fronts, didn't he?
He did. Mm-hmm. And so with all of what transpired, he's been charged with 7 state-level charges in Utah. He's been charged with aggravated murder, potentially shot. He's been charged with discharge of a firearm causing bodily injury. I mean, that's
obvious.
That's obvious. It might be a double up, but that's obvious. He was charged with 2 counts of obstruction of justice. So he hid the rifle after, and then he hid or changed his clothes as well. So I guess that's obstruction of justice in Utah. Yes.
Okay.
He was charged with 2 counts of witness tampering, so he instructed the roommate to delete any messages and to stay silent and not talk to police and request a lawyer if questions. Okay, so 2 counts on that. And then he was charged with violent offense in the presence of a child. And documents from the court appearance that I did listen to said that there were children under 14 at the rally. And so
Right.
that is a separate charge.
Okay.
What is a bit ironic in this case, that if he is found guilty of these charges, that Utah has the death penalty, and the death penalty in Utah includes the firing squad.
So I was talking about that this week because in some of my tutorials, we were talking about the separation of powers and this topic came up. But so then, I don't know that people fully comprehend the methods that are still utilised in 2025 for capital punishment.
How so?
Well, in some jurisdictions, there is still beheadings, stonings.
Oh, are you talking in the United States? Or
No, globally. But I think people have this idea that it is just the lethal injection that gets used these days, and that is so far from being the truth. And firing squad to me is, oh my gosh, horrific.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I look at, there's some states right now that are trialing a nitrogen gas type option, and it's botched. There was a case where one person, they tried it 3 times.
And it costs so much money.
Yeah.
But someone said, well, why would they have a firing squad? And I said, well, I think the theory is that then nobody really knows which person was delivering the fatal bullet.
Yes.
That's what it stemmed from, I think. And that reminded me of an article I read where there's all of this research into the psychological impacts on the executioners, so the prison guards who work on death row and who are responsible for the executions, and the psychological trauma that they carry from being part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to that. I mean, I don't know, but I can imagine that it would be. I mean, there is a callous also response to it, and I've heard it a number of times with my friends down in the southern states, is that a bullet costs $1, and it's quick and it's cheap.
Well, yes, and I guess you're not going to have the same kind of misfiring or error that you have apparently with lethal injection. But I'm against the death penalty.
Yeah. So there you go. There's been some ancillary issues that have raised, and I don't know much about the relevance, but it might go towards the psychology of why Robinson may have done it. And for instance, it's come to light that Robinson was involved with his roommate, who was a male transitioning into a female. Okay. And so if you start to think, all right, what did Charlie Kirk believe about that? What did he express at these rallies about that type of atmosphere with transitioning, trans rights and such, that might have been a motive towards some of why this happened, right? And so right now we know that the partner is cooperating with authority, providing text messages and exchanges. So that is to be continued as to.
And see, there's another victim of his conduct, because now this roommate is a public interest figure.
Oh, being completely smashed on social media. There's posts of they, them. I don't know. With videos of them being furries and, drudging up their private lives are now public. And so this whole process of the transitioning, the furry stuff, and their relationship is now part of the story. And this Lance Twiggs is his name, or Luna, changed the name to Luna, is now kind of trying to hide from it all.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that, I'm sure that wasn't the intention of the shooter, but this is the flow-on effect. This is the ripple effect of these decisions to do things like this. I mean, beyond the impact on Charlie Kirk and his family and friends and whatever.
Yeah.
This is something I'm sure the shooter didn't really contemplate.
No. And I agree. And I just don't think that it was well thought out. I mean, it was premeditated. It was planned. But from the exchanges, the partner had no idea that it was going to transpire.
I mean, he was apprehended so quickly, really. 33 hours is not much at all.
Yep.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen it sooner, but yep.
But do you think...
He went to Dairy Queen and got a meal, so...
Jay, the number of people who kill and then take themselves off for fast food, like I looked at some school shootings.
Mangione was at McDonald's.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like it is outrageous. But my question was, if his parents hadn't told the authorities, like were they on his track already?
See, that part I don't know. I don't know if they were on his track already. I would think that they would catch up with him eventually, DNA and looking at cell tower data and stuff like that, because he did use his cell phone prior to, he shut it off thinking that might work and then turned it back on again. It just doesn't work, people.
But don't tell them that. Let them make the mistakes.
So we've got that. And then I wanted just to briefly touch on this concept of free speech, because in the United States, they've got their First Amendment for free speech and expression. In Canada, we have our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. In Queensland, we've got the Bill of Rights here, or the Queensland Bill of Rights, or Human Rights legislation 2019. And so expression is something that has taken a hit over this. And I don't know to what impact in the United States now are people going to be worried about what they express, and given that it's a constitutional right, how far is this going to go?
But when you think about it, like, yes, we have our human rights legislation here in Queensland and Australia, but you look at some of the laws that have been passed, and it's happened in other jurisdictions as well, where we're starting to see a legislative erosion of those rights that have been justified. And so things like you cannot make the Nazi signal or, other restrictions on racist or culturally inappropriate comments. And I mean, I'm all for that. I think that's okay. But you know that the counter argument is, well, you are impeding people's right to their opinion.
That's right.
And our legislature says, yes, we are, but we're going to pass it anyway. And I think that's the difference. Like, I think that's not going to happen so much in the US.
No. Yeah, certainly. And free speech is guarded in Canada quite a bit as well. So, there's a matter of Keegstra that I'm reminded of, where a school teacher went in and talked about how the Holocaust was garbage and stuff like that. And the Supreme Court said that it was upheld to be his right to expression.
No.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to talk about is this right to a fair hearing. And we've talked about Luigi Mangione in this episode, as well as Tyler Robinson. And I had an interesting message from Joshua Schiffer. Now, Joshua Schiffer is a friend of mine. He's also a correspondent for Court TV. And he reposted this court document from the United States about this concept of the Department of Justice interfering in the dissemination of information to the public. So we talk about the right to a fair hearing, where you have this, you're presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Yes.
But I'm seeing an increase of government officials releasing evidence to the public, to the media, to social media prior to the actual hearing.
Is it unlawful to do that?
Well, it is in New York. And the reason why I bring it up is because Josh posted an actual court order from New York with respect to Mangione's case.
Right.
So think about what they did with Mangione. There was a perp walk. There was statements. There was evidence that was released. Robinson, not sure it was the same quantity or quality of releasing, but there's still this release prior to actual trial.
Yes.
And we had U.S. District Court Judge Margaret Garnett smash the Department of Justice. So Pam Bondi is the
prosecutor,
is the leader down in the United States in terms of the Department of Justice. And this was on the 23rd of September, so I don't know what day it is
it's
today.
the 26th.
Yeah, so very recently. But Mangione's defense team have filed paperwork with the court to say, we have a problem here. We have a problem with this constitutionally entrenched right for a fair hearing when everything is being released, when the government and the department have organized a very public perp walk. These are documents, pieces of evidence that are released without challenge to the potential jury pool.
Yes.
Think about it.
Yes.
You've got 300 and some million people in the United States that are viewing exhibits for a murder charge prior to it being tested and challenged in court.
Yes.
And so what is the person to automatically assume? They did it.
100%.
They did it. Well, Justice Garnett, or Judge Garnett, I should say, said, look, it is the duty of the lawyer to not release or authorize the release opinion that a reasonable person would expect to be disseminated with the connection of pending criminal litigation if there is a substantial likelihood the dissemination will interfere with a fair trial or otherwise prejudice the administration of justice.
Yeah.
Well, that's been done. I'm sorry.
It's prejudiced.
Judge, that's happened. It's prejudiced. All right. And so they have directed the government to respond.
Really?
Yes, directed the government to respond to the sworn declaration, to the statements and the exhibits that have been released as to why they have done what they've done, and to ensure that no future violations occur. And most importantly, that future violations will result in sanctions, so financial penalties, contempt of court findings, or, and this is super important, specific relief for the prosecution of this matter. And so immediately what I'm thinking is that if I'm Mangione's lawyers, or if I'm Robinson's lawyers, I'm immediately after this making an application for a stay, a permanent stay.
So, I mean, that's not a new topic, the media impact, when it's becoming an issue that the prosecuting authority is deliberately providing that information. That's a whole other level. But do they not have judge-alone trials there? Because that's how we counteract prejudicial publicity.
Yeah, and that might be or relief specific to the prosecution of this matter.
Mm.
It might be. But at the same token, I'm still saying we've got this right for a fair hearing. There is a clear violation of this. And if something happens where a relief is granted, who is the most affected? It is the victims.
Yes.
Think about it. It's the victims.
Yes.
And so what the government is doing, the department and whoever is cited in this 140-page document, can't understand that, then they've got bigger issues because what is transpiring is going to affect the victims.
Yeah. Yes, and I think that does sometimes get lost, doesn't it?
Oh, it's media spotlight. It's a perp walk. I mean, think about Mangione's perp walk. It was crafted. And you've got the president and politicians and everyone giving their opinion on it and supporting it.
Yeah.
And you've got the potential jury pool that in my mind is so far beyond tainted. How can you possibly have a fair trial?
Well, that's a pretty concrete remedy if a stay were to be.
It'd send a message.
Absolutely. Put the Department of Justice on notice.
Yeah.
At what cost?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, right? We have somebody who the evidence is quite strong, has shot someone.
Yes.
Has murdered someone, executed, assassinated.
Yes.
And what they're doing is putting that conviction at risk.
Yeah, justice not being served.
Justice not being served.
Mm.
So that's it for me, Liz.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, whether you believe in Charlie Kirk's, beliefs or not, it was just the most horrific and tragic thing to have happened. He did not deserve to be killed for his beliefs.
That, and nobody deserves to see that and be reminded of
No.
it. And especially the youth of today.
That's right. Well, thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed it, please rate and review the podcast. If you're interested in clips, check out @Justice Matters Pod on TikTok and Instagram.